Stephen Odendahl. Does that look like a fuel issue?
That's fuel.
Yeah, he's just stopped. So it's either fuel or a mechanical issue because he's not been down the road, but he's looking down at that left foot. So if it was fuel, they wiggle it around.
Yeah, we're not seeing anything leaking. At least he's managed to get back into the pit and the pit return road fairly easily on it. But you know what?
It's early for fuel.
That's just gonna launch that battle for third. It's just gonna liven it up again.
It stopped on lap 31, so we're on 61 at the moment. So it shouldn't be fuel.
It shouldn't
be
fuel. If it
is, he's had too much.
A little bit too much of the wrist action. A little bit too much. Too aggressive. Trying to fight for that podium position.
And that's another thing we haven't talked about, is actually the fuel mileage is not guaranteed. The rider has to ride the bike accordingly to get the fuel mileage that they need.
That's it, and it's one thing for the teams to say, you know, come in when the fuel light comes on, as they'll inevitably tell some of these guys that run out, but it doesn't work that way.
So, we will confirm what exactly has happened to the Honda Vitae's bike. We think it's fuel, but he did look down at his left foot. So let's have a wait and see on that one. So 62 laps completed. If the first set of stops anything to go by, we expect the Cert bike in on 68 and the Yacht bike on 64. So that's But they'll work out, they'll reassess.
Changed a little bit since the last
they'll
stops.
reassess because they'll work out how much fuel was in it based on how much fuel they got in it, if that makes sense. Very technically, eloquently put, wasn't it, that?
Oh, no, it's in the garage, so it is a mechanical problem. It's not a fuel issue for the 333.
So he was looking at the gear linkage, wasn't he? Well, they're dropping like flies at the front, apart from the front two. Because now Sylvain Guintoli is up to third, because don't forget the KM99 machine has stopped. That was a routine pit stop. The 333 is now in the garage with a mechanical error, and now Sylvain Guintoli is up to third. He's he's 50 seconds off of the race lead. That brings Christian Gamarino up to 11th. And look, the FCC TSR Honda bike's out. Mike D'Amelio back on that machine.
And they're going to rejoin 25 laps down on where they were, 25 laps down in the leaders. I mean, it's a long night. There's a lot of racing still to go. And, you know, maybe the race wind's gone, but you never know what they might come back to here. And, you know, it's also worth remembering that we talk about this very much in terms of the race in front of us right now, but there is a championship at play, and there's points awarded not just for the finish line but for various stages through the race, and they're going to try and do what they can to concentrate on their championship now.
Mike D'Amelio trundles up the hill to pit lane exit up at the Dunlop chicane, and it is that team manager now being summoned. I think that's because they went the wrong way down pit lane.
Yeah.
But the truck did drop them off at the wrong end then.
Yeah. I have a feeling that the first time we saw them being summoned upstairs to race control might have been that, I think maybe that first crash knocked off the lights.
Right.
And I think maybe we saw them running without lights, which now obviously is a rule change recently in this series. Lights are now mandatory for the full 24 hours as opposed to just in the darkness hours like it used to be. So I think maybe that was what the first summons was for, but I have a feeling that the second one might be for pushing the wrong way down pit lane.
33 bike in super stock. That's the Team 33 Loit April Motors bike. We've not seen much of them at all, have we? So the stocker in the Kawasaki, and it's a slower stop for the stockers. They don't have all of the quick release trickery that we see on the EWC machines.
And that's
Fuel's the same though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's a fairly comfortable pit stop.
Right, lap 64. All eyes on that Yamaha.
by your numbers, Tom, we should be seeing the art bike diving in at the end of this lap.
But you're right, they normally do go conservative on the first stop and a little bit longer on the stops thereafter, just to make sure they've got their sums right. That Honda Voltaires bike still plummeting down the order. Down to 20th now. It's the FCC TSR Honda Mike D'Amelio up at the Dunlop chicane. It looks like a brand new bike, that. It's just amazing.
I suppose, you know, if you're doing a complicated job like changing the clocks and the dash, you might as well have someone else putting you fair in the side of it and make sure that the sponsors are happy. The Japanese clutch manufacturer in this case are still getting their advertising value out of you.
From a mental side of things, for Mike D'Amelio, dents your confidence. You don't know what to expect. That front tyre, there's still a question mark around it. It's bitten him. It's bitten the bike twice. Josh Hook at Recordement as well. And you will be a little bit sore from that tumble up to Cheminaburf where the accident happened. And it will be in the back of your mind.
It will. You'd imagine that the team have done everything they can to allay that they've had a good sit-down chat, you know, damage assessment, figuring out what went wrong. And you'll have the added benefit of having Josh Hook able to sit in on that chat as well, because it's not like later on where you know, Josh will be in bed or getting a massage after his first stint. He'll have been in the box to debrief with him. So they'll have done everything they can to try and persuade him that, you know, whatever happened isn't going to happen again, that front tire is going to work and that they can push on. But it is going to be a niggle, at least for the first few laps.
We'll be off for a massage after our first stint in 10 minutes' time, if only. No glamour for the commentators. Chris Saura, Chris McCarthy taking over shortly.
So, Stephen, in the first moment, we saw that you ran out of fuel. But then you entered the bike in the pit box. Can you explain what happened?
Yeah, so I was just riding, doing my stint. The bike felt really nice. And just out of nowhere on the back straight, I heard a big noise from the engine. I pulled the clutch in and just tried to make it back to the box. But we're not really sure what actually has gone wrong. So let's see. Hopefully they can fix it. If not, doesn't look good. But if not, unfortunately, it's a sad end to our race.
Well, we hope we can find a problem and go to follow the race.
Xavier Simeon there talking to Stephen Odendahl, and of course, as soon as you hear that word engine, that's the one thing you can't replace.
That sounds pretty terminal, to be honest. Whenever you're talking about big noises coming from the engine, that's a worry that the race is done already, which is frustrating, but at the same time, probably less frustrating than if we were another 20 hours into it whenever they got that.
Well, of course, don't forget, at the end of last season, the National Motos bike broke down with 20 minutes to go at the Bol d'Or.
Oh, yeah.
So it does happen.
It happens.
And you look at the car race here, the Toyota Nakajima broke down penultimate lap. I mean, it's like a movie script, that. It's almost unbelievable that could happen.
This is the one of the things about 24-hour racing that I love, is that you couldn't write the script for the races that we get.
There are so many stories in a 24-hour race as well. It's just so long, and I've done so many of them now, but it still amazes me that, you know, we can go to dinner, we can sleep, we can wake up, they're still going tomorrow morning. Right, here's the Yamaha in lap 67 for the second stop. So I'll put that on my charts.
They've kept them out a little bit longer than we thought, maybe just because the fuel saved in those early laps of the stint tucked in behind the cert bike. But there's no sign of the Suzuki diving into the pit yet, and they do have an advantage there.
Well, that's 35. So that's more representative of what they will be doing for the rest of the race then.
Yeah.
35 laps.
As we see Marvin Fritz rejoining on the bike.
Now, don't forget, Cert did 34, BMW did 34, TSR did 35 in the opening stint. Were they just a bit more courageous, or can they actually go a bit longer? You know, can they do, you know, pushing up to the high 30s in terms of lap time? We'll have to wait and see. There's Carol Haneke getting off the machine. So day glow yellow on that helmet. Doesn't wear the pink boots anymore. I thought those were quite... you have to be fast if you're wearing pink boots.
You have to be fast to wear pink boots. But, you know, I mean, he has been fairly conclusively fast over the years.
Who did we see in there? It's the Yoshimura Cert bike. So that's on, so they're 68. So they have done exactly what they did last time around. So, yeah, 34 laps.
Yeah.
So actually, the Yacht's done 35 in that last stint, whereas Cert had done 34 and 34. Dan Linford about to get on his first outing in the Suzuki colours aboard this Yoshimura Cert machine.
One of the big changes in the pit stops over the past few years that have come as part of the introduction of that mandatory 30-second stop rule is that we now see the bikes actually they're using paddock stands again like the old days, rather than those lifting apparatus that we saw the FCC guys use when their bike was in the garage. Just it slides into the side of the engine, lifts the whole bike up so both wheels are off the ground. They used to be standard for pit stops, but now that things are a little bit more relaxed, we're back to the old-fashioned way, which I don't think is a bad thing.
Damien Saulnier there just talking to Etienne Masson. That's the team manager with the headphones on. Now the engineers take over. And they want to know everything in terms of feedback.
You've got to think at this point that race that they're getting a fairly, you know, there's not too much in the way of feedback to have to come their way, because there's not much has gone wrong for that team, is there?
The Sappierre-Pompiers are down. Pellizziotti is in the gravel. Another Italian-sounding Frenchman. But he's gone a long way into the gravel there. And that's at Musi. The sort of adverse camber. Long left-hander. It's a really strange corner, very difficult to get a feel for the front of the bike into this left-hander. And now he's trying to Control-Alt-Delete it and get it started. You can tell the Superstock if you're new to endurance racing, because they have the white number and the red background. They've also got the orange lights compared to the white number and the black background and the white lights of the EWC class machines, the super bikes, and this is not looking good.
I'm not sure what's more comical here. I'm trying to fix the bike by punching it, or I'm punching himself in the head because the bike won't fix itself. But I don't think either of them's working very well.
At least he's got on the right bike. You had a situation last weekend in America where they got on the wrong machine.
In his defense, it was his bike from last year that he got a little bit confused by. But we're watching that factory BMW, the 37 bike, and they're making the fuel thing work again.
I know.
They're still out there whenever no one else is. And well, you know what, with the 333 bike disappearing, the podium's back on for them a little bit. They're starting to creep it down again.
But the Yard bike did 35 laps on that last stint. The Cert machine did 34. Now the BMW, they're going 35 already. So this is, again, BMW flexing their muscles when it comes to fuel mileage. Now, they just haven't had the pace, and it can't be the Dunlop tyre, because we saw the KM99 machine. We saw Randy de Pugna in that last stint so quick on that Yamaha.
But just looking down the times of the guys that have just headed back out on track with new tyres on, Gintoli at the minute is quicker than them, and that makes me think that this is those Dunlop tyres just coming into themselves as the race goes on.
And don't forget, the sun's gone down now, so track temperature's starting to drop, and we know that Dunlop tyre has such a wide operating window.
They've kind of gone under the radar so far, but as things start to cool down and as they finally dive into the pits, we you know, maybe they're the bit of the dark horse here. We've already said that they've got a dark horse trump card in the form of Sylvain Gintoli, but it might be that the whole effort and the way they're going about things so far is just playing it very, very calmly, but very nicely.
36, 2 laps longer than the Yoshimura Cert bike on that last stint.
That's going to make a difference. A little bit of debrief between Gintoli and Marcus Reiterbacher.
Reiterberger so much taller, such a tall chap. Knees and elbows.
And Gintoli's not short for a MotoGP rider either, but yeah, Marcus makes him look very, very average height there, doesn't he? That's something of an issue, you know. I have a bit of experience in this race working with a team, and it's something you don't necessarily think about, but trying to adjust the ergonomics of different sized riders that are sharing a bike. We rode one year with a former British Superbike and Supersport frontrunner called John Crockford, who's not a tall guy, and his teammate was Isle of Man TT racer Connor Cummins. And trying to fit the two of them onto one bike comfortably, we had to fabricate a piece of seat foam that plugged onto the back of the seat unit, and Connor's job was to take it off and put it on before he switched the bikes, before they switched riders, so that him and John both fit.
You see that with the likes of Randy De Pugna, who's quite a slight chap. But, you know, going back to the point we were making earlier, a lot of the riders on the shorter distances, Grand Prix, Superbike, World Superbikes, that kind of stuff, are used to the equipment being set up around them. And some riders are better at coping with everything not being perfect. Some riders want it to be perfect, and if it's not perfect, they can't get their head around it.
And it goes back to what we were already saying about how, you know, the superstar Grand Prix rider who's ultra fast isn't necessarily the guy you want in this team. You want someone that's fast, sure, that, you know, the whole point of this is going fast, but you need someone that's adaptable and adjustable as well.
Right, in the back of the booth, Chris Zora has appeared with Chris McCarthy, and that means that myself, Tom Gaymore, and alongside me Simon Patterson will be off to get a coffee, some refreshments, and whatever else we can get our hands on. It won't be a massage, and it won't be an ice bath, that's for sure. Well, it's been a joy. What an opening couple of hours. We've seen all the drama from FCC TSR Honda and the 333 Honda Vitesse, the Yoshimura Cert bike and the Yamaha slugging it out at the front. But after that last stop, the gap now out to 12 seconds. Dan Lidford leads from Marvin Fritz, and Yamaha have slipped back, but they are 36 seconds ahead of Jeremy Guarnoni on the KM99 Yamaha, with Marcus Reiterberger, who's just got on that 37 BMW, 57 seconds behind. The Tecmas BMW of Jan Boone leads in Super Stock, 7th overall, ahead of the 55, the pole-sitting National Motors Honda, Julien Ramon aboard that machine. Well, thanks everyone who's joined us. We're going to hand over now. Chris McCarthy's going to jump in for Simon Patterson. And I'm going to swap over for Chris Zora. Well, Chris.
Hello. Thank you very much to Simon Patterson there, who was just filling us in with a penalty as he jumped out, as Tom Gaymore will now jump out himself as well. Thank you very much to everyone who has been joining us for the first 2 hours of this glorious 24-hour race here at Le Mans. Of course, the first of 4 races in the Endurance World Championship. Many, though, see this race as its own entity. 3 manufacturers chasing their 15th win, and then we have 1 manufacturer who we are looking at on screen chasing their 5th, looking to spoil the party. We've had a great head-to-head out front, which Tom Gaymore was talking about. Thanks to Tom Gaymore and to Simon Patterson, as well as they step off to go and have a break after their first stint. They will be back in a few hours' time for their next. In 2 hours' time, we will welcome to the box Dave Goddard and the familiar voice of Ben Rombold to this championship as well, as we watch the Yoshimura bike coming in to the chicane. We did say we are watching a contender chasing down the Yamaha bike, sorry, coming into the first chicane. We are watching a bike that could get their 5th win in this championship, and that's what we're looking for, a bike that could spoil the party with others chasing their 15th win. However, for Honda, it's been a bit of a shaky start. Of course, we've seen them go down in the early stages. Not just them, as well, as Chris Sora now jumps in to the commentary box as well. They have not been alone in going down so far in the early stages. For those of you who have been joining us throughout the first 2 hours, we thank you for your company. For those of you who may have just joined us, let's bring you up to speed for what has been going on in these first 2 hours before we get back to the action as we are seeing it on screen. The 199 buck, the Artec, was the first to go down. Then we had the 45 Métis that had a high side a little bit earlier. Josh Hook went down at the last corner in the number 5 FCC Honda. The 85 then went down. The Team Racing 85 went down at the final corner as well. The first pit stops for the leader came in at around 51 minutes. That was timed by our co-commentator Dave Goddard at around 16 seconds. It was a real fast pit stop in and out. Then the 82 tried to go a couple minutes longer to 54 minutes Uniserve and ran out of fuel. So we've worked out back in our commentary prep area that around 51 minutes is where we are going to go to. The 44 Honda No Limits had a crash at the end of the first hour, and then going into hour 2, more drama for FCC Honda. They went out at Chemin de Boeuf. That had a crash there at the chicane. Métis went down a little after that. Then we had the number 30 bike go down as well. Eddie Zapai currently out on that one. The 333 had to then be pushed back, and then the number 5 returned back out onto the track. And we saw the Ducati, Chris Sora, also go off as well. And the number 5, as we just mentioned, went out. But we saw, as we came into the commentary box, the Ducati off in the gravel as well. Well, welcome, Chris Sora, to the commentary box in the Endurance World Championship. Great to have your company.
Hello, Chris. Now, of course, 2 Chris's on this next 2 hours.
We're going to have to go by last names.
It might be the way to go. Just been watching there the number 99, the KM99 machine with Jeremy Gornoni. Now, over the last half hour or so, they've been having a good solid race. We've been talking about other riders hitting trouble other teams into the gravel track, mechanical issues, but they've had a strong, steady race. KM99, the Belgian Yamaha team, something of a dark horse coming into this, along, of course, with the bike that we're sitting with now, the BMW Motorrad EWC team, with Marcus Reiterberger on the machine at the moment, currently in 4th position, briefly leading between the pit stops around 5 or 10 minutes ago, as he goes around the number 55, the National Motos Honda, one of the Superstock machines. And yeah, Reiterberger having a good solid race so far. It's turning into a rather predictable scene at the front, you would say, with the Yoshimura Cert Motor machine leading the way with Dan Linfoot, Marvin Fritz in 2nd position on the pre-event favourites, the Yamaha team, which is pretty much going towards the form book right now. But we have got a couple of solid contenders, 3rd and 4th position, as we focus on the number 37 Belgian-based BMW factory team, the Motorrad World Endurance team. And brief moment there for him, just ran a little bit off to the side, just ahead of the number 55, but recovered that well, kept his cool. And of course, in a 24-hour race, it's understandable that the mistakes might just crop in there sometimes. As he crops around the corner, and
well, we can see here the number 37 of the BMW Motorrad, going along pretty well so far in this race, running in 4th place. They are just making their way now round the double rights. Just over 2 hours in, we are watching the BMW trying to chase down the top 3. Let's go down and hear from Sylvain Guintoli.
Well, it's going well. It's going great. The bike is brilliant. It's true that last year I signed up with BMW to be the World Superbike test rider, and we started our program. But I would say the retirement didn't last very long, about 2 weeks. When BMW approached me to join the 100 team and be part of this project as well, it made a lot of sense to do that as well. And to be frankly honest, I actually regretted to stop, and I started to really regret it. So I didn't ask twice, and I did that program. The bike feels good. We've already worked quite a lot during the winter to make the bike efficient for the race distance, and yeah, so far so good. I'm happy with the progress, and I'm enjoying this new adventure.
Well, now back to this race. Talk me through that stint, how the conditions are on track, and how the bike's feeling here at Le Mans.
It didn't feel great, that first one. Not amazing, not as good as during the practice. So I just tried to be patient. And the second part, really, actually, the lap time came better, and the bike started to feel a bit better. So these conditions, actually, we've not had the hottest it's been, and it's quite sunny, and the tarmac is quite warm. So the bike is moving around a little bit more. But we are quite confident that when it's going to cool down, it's going to play in our hands. So yeah, just keep going and keep enjoying it.
Well, you said that you were regretting having retired, so you're happy that you're back. I might come and speak to you at about 3 a.m. and see how you feel then.
Yeah, I probably would have a change of mind, and you know it. You know it. 4 a.m. is the time where you regret, and you don't know why you're here. But then we come back. So you know, it's a great adventure, endurance racing. It's the toughest racing out there. It's very hard physically and mentally, but yeah, like I said, we come back to it because it's such a great adventure with the teams, with the teammates, and when you can bring it, you know, on the podium or bring it to victory, there is not better feelings out there. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was Sylvain Guintoli there. The French, I don't like to say veteran, 'cause he's about the same age as me right now, actually lives in Donington in the UK. But looking pleased with the bike and pleased how things are going so far. Sitting very well in 4th position as we focus on his teammate Marcus Reiterberger, resting the right-hander, and that BMW machine certainly looking very good. Sylvain Guintoli, the Bol d'Or winner last year, so they've certainly got the correct riders on that machine. And bike in the gravel there, the number 82, the Uniserve Moto 82 team, and the Vinger on.
Yes, let's have a look what happened. We can see the rider walking away. Okay, I think we're about to see what happened here, Chris. Let's have a look what happened with the Uniserve bike. There we can see the tech mass on the number 9, currently running in P9, so they are our current Superstock leaders. The red backgrounds to the numbers, so going along really well on the number 9 bike is the tech mass. You can just see the red circle on the positions down the left-hand side, so 3 in the top 10 so far. And overall, it's been a pretty good day all round for BMW in other areas across the superbikes. But Dan Linfoot leading the way out front, just over 2 hours in. And we heard Tom Gaymore, Chris, talking about how long some of the riders were going. What's your thoughts been on what we've seen so far, on how far we've been seeing some of these different manufacturers going in terms of BMW here. They've looked like they've had a good start to this race themselves. We can see, in fact, you've got a list that you made earlier in terms of the different tyres we're running. We've got, of course, different manufacturers. We'll come back to that. This was the glorious footage from the start of the race, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was like a World Superbike event on the first 2 laps. They always say about you can't win the race on the first lap, and we always expect on an endurance race that you would have a slow, steady start. We saw quite the opposite with the number 12, the Yoshimura Cert Moto machine, getting the jump on the field, and Canepa straight through on one of the event favourites there, the Yamaha machine. These two were really dicing it out in these early stages. It was hair-raising to watch. The FCC machine looking strong in the early stages with Joshua Hook, and of course he, we may see in a few moments, bin the machine right on cue. There he goes, and that was FCC pretty much out of contention already in the first hour of the race. We were talking earlier, there was a stop-go penalty for that team as well. And as always in a 24-hour event, early drama with the Matisse going down very heavily, a nasty high side in those early stages. Rider, I believe we're okay there, the 85, the Team Racing 85 going down as well, one of the Supersport machines. And we saw the Team 99, a bit of a, again, riders just having the early issues settling down into the rhythm on this race, as the number 9 Tecmas RMP machine also looking strong in the early stages. We saw the National Motos Honda out there as well. And this is pretty much the early part of the race. The early story is the already, of course, having to deal with the slower traffic. We saw Yamaha going back into the lead and just starting to control the race in the early stage, although there was this hair-raising moment when they went wide and off onto the escape road. Nothing too serious, but certainly number 12, the Yoshimura Cert Moto machine, looking strong in the early stages. Dan Linfoot currently on the machine, and they lead as things stand at the moment. And we saw this very nasty tumble there for the FCC TSR machine, and one of the early fallbacks as well, Thales Racing hitting. I don't believe we've had an update on what happened to that machine, whether it was fuel or a mechanical issue. But like they always say, it's you can't win the race in the first 2 hours. We can certainly go a long way towards losing it, and a lot of machines hitting trouble. The Sapeur-Pompier machine, French Fire Brigade, hitting trouble early on as well. So there's already been quite a few early casualties as we focus on the race leader, the number 12 of Dan Linfoot, the number 11 there, the Kawasaki WeBike Trick Start machine, also running well, currently in 5th place. And I think we are already starting to see, Chris, some very early contenders as we look at the lineups after 81 laps.
Yep, Yoshimura leading here from the Yacht Yamaha, then the KM99 bike. So Suzuki currently leading from Yamaha, Bridgestone, then Dunlop. BMW Motorrad 4th, then Kawasaki WeBike, Tati, Team Behringer, then the first of the super stocks, the Tecmas BMW in 7th. National Motos Honda going well. Good form around this event. They've raced it for very long as well. They are currently sitting in P8. Then Team Bollinger Racing in 9th place. Team Avio Bike round out the top 10 on their Aprilia. It's been a good couple of weeks for them. Let's see if they can continue that at this event. Chromeburner RAC in 11th. Team Slider Endurance in P12. Looks like a little bit further down, we've got Motobox Kramer Racing, who will be hoping to come up the order. We've got the experimental class Team Rosso Bordeaux on their Ducati down there as well. We'll see what they can do coming through. Wojciech Racing Team 77 down there in 29th, the second of those teams. As we continue to look through the order, we've got King Tire Full Gas, who will be hoping to come up the order throughout as well. Uniserv, we've seen them run into problems. Matisse, likewise. These then some of the teams we saw go down. We mentioned the likes of Artec, Team Racing 85, FCC Honda, of course, who are having to been recovered back to the pit lane. Well, let's jump on board through the famous Dunlop Bridge and down then into La Chapelle. Yoshimura Beautiful shots, great crowds in to Le Mans for this event, and the Yoshimura team in the number 12 trying to go after victory and taking control of this race. They're 12.8 seconds ahead now of the Yamaha, and then it is the KM99 bike. So in the early stages, Chris, we did see a real head-to-head tussle, but nevertheless 12 seconds is not a big gap at all after 2 hours of racing. But it's Suzuki from Yamaha after 12 hours of racing, and it is a great story that we have, isn't it, that we have those manufacturers chasing
tied on the
15th win. So
tied on the
3
15th win now.
manufacturers we have overall tied on 14 wins. Kawasaki, Honda and Suzuki tied on 14 wins. Kawasaki stood on their own on 14, but in recent years, in the last 4 years, Honda and Suzuki have taken 2 wins each, and that has brought them on to 14 wins each. Honda won last year. However, FCC Honda going down has really disrupted their chances of getting that 15th win. Suzuki won in 2021 and 2022. Can they stand on their own at the end of this 24-hour race on 15th win? However, then we have that Yamaha, of course. They are on 4 wins. They haven't won this event since 2017. Can the Yamaha be the one to do it? They've came so close in recent years as well, haven't they?
Certainly been looking very good in the lead up to
second in the last 2 runnings.
Yeah, I think they're determined to go one better. And of course, the other thing apart from the manufacturers is the tyre wars. Of course, the super stocks all on the Dunlop tyres, one of the series sponsors, so they all run effectively a spec tyre. But we're looking at the Bridgestones currently first and second. The art machine also running on the Bridgestone tyres. You can see the familiar Bridgestone logo just on the front fairing there. And tyre temperatures will be very important as the event goes on. Looks warm on the pictures. We'll see most of the spectators wearing the coats. It's not particularly warm this weekend here at the Le Mans circuit on this Bugatti track. It's forecast to go as low as about 2-3 degrees in the early hours of the morning. So we'll see just how much the tyres drop off possibly, and how they cope in the different conditions. Of course, the number 12 Dan Linfoot looking good as Fritz round the right-hander. So Marvin Fritz back onto the start-finish straight as we move to our 3rd place rider, Jeremy Guarni, the number 99 machine, KM99. One of the teams here, Chris, who I think has come into this weekend very much as one of the dark horses. A lot of the attention has been on the Yamaha team, looking very good in the warm-up and the qualifying session. But of course, they've got the star name, I'd say, Randy Lepunier, former MotoGP rider, one of the most recognisable in the lineup to many spectators this weekend. And of course, running on the Dunlop tyres. So of course, 1 and 2 on the Bridgestones, 3rd on the Dunlop. So we'll see how that factors into account in the morning. Still a very long way to go. Only 2 hours 15 into this race so far. And Sylvain Grantoli was talking on the interview earlier. It's the early hours of the morning, the 3-4 a.m. It's that's when it really starts to get tough. The temperatures are at their lowest. The bikes are skittish, difficult to ride out there, especially with the forecast weather being as cold as it is. And even we're looking at some of the bikes, of course, the port and starboard, different colours on the for the tyre change on each side of the bike. It's all these factors, human factors, coming into display as we're going to pop down into the pit area.
we know how much energy and involvement you put in this project. This is a sad moment for you. Can you explain what are you trying to do for the rest of the race?
For the moment, I think we can work on the engine. And you know, in endurance, never give up. We will see if we can restart, and if we can restart, we restart. It's endurance, you know, endurance. So, yeah, it's like it. All the pre-test we had never problem with this engine, and it's like it. We will see if we can restart, and like I said, we will continue.
I hope for you that you can continue and take a big point for the championship. You deserve it.
Thank you.
Good to hear from the pit lane there. Shots of the 333 bike coming back in at a little bit earlier race. There we can see the team really working hard on that. The Honda Viltaz Racing, and that bike, Chris, looks very stripped down currently.
Yeah,
and I think they have a long way to go still on that one before we are going to see it back out onto the circuit. A real shame for that team.
Yeah, we were speculating earlier when we saw that bike. As you can see on the clock there, 40 minutes that machine has been in the pits. It was almost looking like the machine had run out of fuel. That was the early speculations. So, of course, the telltale sign he wasn't jinking the bike about to get some fuel through. But as you can see, they got the head off and timing chain exposed as well. It's whatever is wrong with the engine of that machine, it looks pretty severe at this stage. So I think it'll be some time before we see that treble 3 back out on the circuit.
Yeah, well, let's wish the team all the best. It's, of course, this is the first race on the calendar as well. We go to Spa for what's going to be an 8-hour race this year, not a 24-hour. We go to Suzuka as well for the 8 hours, and then we have the famous Bol d'Or to round off the season. It's a long wait for this race, isn't it? You've been a racer yourself, Chris. For the riders, they have a long wait ahead to get to this one. Is there any sense, I guess, in the anticipation of waiting for this 24-hour race, or the practice they do in building up to it? Do you reckon any of that has played a part in the amount of injuries we've seen so far at the start of this race? Because it's been quite a punishing race so far, and the amount of riders that we've seen go down and the amount of bikes that we've seen come back into pit lane so far, more than you expected, or?
Yeah, you do wonder. It has been quite an incident-filled opening 2 hours, and more than a few riders dropping the machine as well. It's, of course, professional riders. You do wonder that any sort of elements, the human elements of the anticipation, I think it is still there, even if you're a pro, along with an amateur. And, of course, factoring into account the prestige of this event. We've got 4 fantastic events across the world during the season, but Le Mans 24 hours will be Quatre-Vingts starting things off. The whole name, the Le Mans, the 24 hours, it certainly is a good, strong curtain raiser to the season as well. So the pressure's on even in these early stages. It's not the case of just get the first round done and out of the way. You've got to perform in this first round as well and get a good result as well. And like I said, maybe it's just an issue where that may have played a part, because it has certainly been an incident-packed opening 2 hours, and still a very long way to go, of course.
It really has. If you've been with us the whole time, thank you very much for your company. If you're just with us, thank you for joining us on the live coverage of this fantastic 24-hour race here at Le Mans, the first of 4 rounds in the Endurance World Championship. You're joining myself, Chris McCarthy, and Chris Sora. Get your questions in on Twitter. You can reach me at Chris McCarthy 32, and you can reach Chris
basically Chris Sora
at Chris Sora. So thank you very much for that. Get your questions in throughout the next hour and 35 minutes to us. Ben Rumbold and Dave Goddard will be in after that, and we will do our very best to answer them throughout. 2 hours and 25 minutes completed so far. We jump on board with the BMW team once again. If you're wondering what the armbands are, that's how we tell which riders are on the bikes. Some teams made up of 3, most made up of 4. so we'll be able to know which riders are on the bikes. That comes particularly helpful when we reach the evening time and the sun is slowly setting over in France so far. And then we see the BMW just working its way through traffic. Traffic, a big thing, of course. We are on the Bugatti circuit. Fans of four-wheeled racing, I'm sure, will see this race slightly differently when they turn it on and see it's a 24-hour Le Mans race. We use the Bugatti circuit, which they use in the MotoGP World Championship, which and the World Superbikes, everything like that, all the motorcycle racing that comes here, the famous Bugatti circuit, beautiful circuit for motorcycle racing. Flows beautifully, doesn't it? Loads of pinch points around the circuit as well, going up to the double right-hander, which we've seen some incidents so far. This coming through Dunlop curve and into the Dunlop chicane. Great place for overtaking as well.
It's a lovely track. I mean, it's opened in 1965, and I think it's aged well. It's you would look at this track nowadays and think that it is a modern design. It's something that may have just come along in a few years, but it utilises, of course, the Dunlop curve, the Dunlop chicane, and it just transitions seamlessly into the rest of the circuit. It's a Formula 1 year only, Formula 1 French Grand Prix track as well, so it's done the whole thing. It is, of course, a third of the length of the famous Circuit de la Sarthe. So, like you say, traffic is a huge factor already. We've seen a few times where the leaders have almost tripped over some of the super stock machinery as they do their own battles in the midfield, and one or two frayed tempers in there as well when the riders are falling over each other almost.
Yep. Well, we are 2 hours and 27 minutes into the race so far. The number 24 rider just making its way down to the chicane. Currently within the traffic here, Chris, and it is traffic, as we were talking about there. It's going to be a big build-up so far in this race, particularly when we get to the evening.
Yeah, that's what's going to be interesting, because as you can see now, the sun's just starting to set into the sky. We're looking into the early evening at this stage. The temperatures will drop. It'll be interesting to see how the lap times and how the pace develops amongst those front runners with the different tyres on there as well. Well, certainly Dan Linfoot and Marvin Fritz, who are out at the moment for the Yoshimura Cert Motul number 12, the race leader so far, as we cut back to one of the Czech riders there, the Polish team.
That's Gino Ria. And I remember being in the Motorsport UK Academy with Gino many years ago now, back in 2012, a young rider back then. And of course, his first race back since his horrifying crash at Suzuka. So great to see him back after the recovery process he's had to go through. Tom Gaymore and Simon Patterson were talking a little bit about that in their stint in the commentary box earlier, and how he was part of this commentary team last season at the Boldor as well, whilst he was going through that recovery process. It's been a long road for him, hasn't it? He was at this race last year. He did a bit of a parade lap before the event started, and even at that moment he was a long way. Getting, I think, back into racing was a long way ahead of him. But Simon was talking about how he'd spoken to him after the incident, and any thought of getting back into racing was way ahead. I think way ahead of him. I think something he never really imagined happening at that point.
I think a lot of people thought we'd seen the back of him. That was a horrifying crash at that time, and yeah, it is great to see him back on the track, of course. Amazing. Because I think everyone hoped that he'd be back racing, of course, but I think the pessimists would have thought that would be it for him, because that was really nasty. Lucky that he's still up and about, of course.
So yeah, so Gino's in the Wojciech Racing Team 77. They are the 777 bike, currently running in 15th place. They are in the super stock category. So in class, they sit in their top 10. I think, Chris, if they could make it home for Gino, that would be hugely emotional.
That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? I mean, they've started ever so strongly, 15th overall right now, like you say, and this is always the way in these early stages, 2.5 hours into the race so far, and they've done it right so far. They've stayed out of trouble, they've kept the bike on the track, which is the basics, of course, putting in some good steady lap times, and I think they're sitting quite nicely going into the evening. And like you say, if they can bring that home for Gino, and he's playing a part of that well and truly thus far, that would be a fantastic result for them. But of course, still going into the evening, still long start in front of them. But yeah, it's been a bright start for them so far.
Yeah, and they finished 4th in the World Cup last year, so we have the World Cup standings for those Superstock teams, and that matched their best ever season. Their last time they finished 4th in that championship was in 2019-20, and they were 9th in the Superstock class here last year, 20th overall. So let's see if they can go and beat that. Right, we're watching Slider Endurance on the 119. They're 11th overall, which puts them 4th in the Superstock class. So a good start to the race for the Slider Endurance team. Daniel Gonzalez is currently out on the bike for them. Let's see how they can get on. They were 12th in the World Cup standings last year, 6th in the Superstock here last year. Here comes the number 99 bike down the pit lane now. KM99, 3rd overall, Chris. So leaders coming into pit lane now.
Yeah, we're looking at that stage of the race now as Florian Marino makes his way out onto the circuit. Now we'll keep an eye on the outlap, because these pit stops, there's makes so many of them, that can be a real critical part in terms of the victory when we get towards the latter stage of the race. They've all been pretty steady so far, but as we see them, Marino now out onto the track. They're sitting 3rd right now, so I would imagine very shortly we should be looking at the likes of Dan Lenford, Marvin Fritz coming in for their rider change. As Marino makes his way back out onto the circuit just past the Dunlop chicane, he goes now. The number 99, Marino looking to get back onto the pace very quickly. That Yamaha running very strongly in 3rd position right now, the lead of the Dunlop runners at this stage. And yeah, he's looking just to get back into the rhythm here, get back on the pace as quickly as possible, and just dropping behind the BMW in the pit stops now. So Marcus Reiterberger, who stopped around half an hour ago, the BMW is now up to 3rd position, as the number 4 Hugo Claire just behind there on the Tati Team Behringer Racing. Very distinctive bike, that number 4, with the iPhone sponsorship on the side of it as well. And of course he's, I believe, currently a lap down, of course, so they're not racing for position right now. And the Hugo Claire, the Frenchman, just behind the number 99, and the number 4 Tati Team Behringer Racing currently sitting in 6th position, a little lap down on the KM99, which we'll check. Actually, I think they are still on the lead lap now. Let's have a look at the lap charts here. They are. I thought they were a lap down actually, but they are still on the same position here. So this is actually a fight on track. I thought Claire had lost a lap there, but they are still on position for 5th. So that means that moving up to 4th place now on the shuffle on the pit stops there is the number 11 Kawasaki Webrike Trickstar machine, which currently has the Spanish rider on there, the red rider, red armband, Roman Ramos Alvaro, currently up to 4th position behind Reiterberger. So yeah, it looks like Marino's still there in 5th. So we are seeing a battle on the track, 0.3 of a second covering these two, and yeah, Marino's got to get back into rhythm quite quickly here.
Yeah, and this is another battle, isn't it? This is Tati Team Behringer Racing and KM99, who of course just come out onto the track, and there you can see in the white that looks like Tati Team Behringer behind in the number 4 Hugo Claire, as you mentioned. They're just making their way down to the chicane, and now front of the bike sitting down as they sit on the brakes and tip their way into the famous chicane now. Very quick entry point into there. Some of the Yamaha guys, the KM99 team, watching on as they hit some traffic. I think that's the
83 TCP Racing.
Yeah, good spot just ahead as we now come into this final chicane, place where you can get some moves done if you're close enough, but in an endurance race like this, you just wait for your moment. And the number 4 just slotting in behind the KM99. Questions coming in. I can see Dan Kyle has got in touch. Thank you for getting in touch with us online. You can get in touch myself at Chris McCarthy 32, at Chris Sora as well on Twitter. We will get in those answered, so keep those coming in, and we will answer. We're just watching the number 4 Tati Team Beringer on screen. Tati Team Beringer chasing down the number 5 KM99, just over 2.5 hours into this 24-hour race now. The battle for 5th on pit stops ongoing here now. Some of the leaders have already been in, KM99 one of those, and now they sit with Tati Team Beringer behind them as they make their way up to the chicane. We're going to be taking questions throughout, myself, Chris McCarthy and Chris Sora in with you in the commentary box for the next hour and a half for our first stint. You can get in touch on Twitter at Chris McCarthy 32 and at Chris Sora. I can see Dan Kyle has asked what's happening with Joe Ackroyd, so we're going to be keeping an eye on those guys. ADSS, and they're currently just running a little bit down the field. Let's get down to the pit lane first of all.
Can see here that the fight is on, the battle is on for the 5th place. Talk to me about that stint, and what did you say to Marino?
No, I don't say anything to him because the bike was okay. The bike is working quite well. Personally, I'm a bit disappointed with my stint. I expect to ride faster, but I've got so much traffic on the track. It was really difficult to overtake because some riders ride like 3 or 4 riders together, so I lose a lot of time overtaking, you know, and when I was alone I was able to ride my rhythm. But I saw also the BMW got the same problem, so just don't make mistake, because we can make quickly a mistake overtaking, so no, just keep calm. It's really long, so yeah, relax.
Everyone's quite excited to see the development of this team, and you guys have strong riders. What is the goal for this year?
Obviously, I think we want to fight for the top 5. Realistic, we can fight for the top 5. We have the speed, and also the bike is quite fast. I think they improve a lot comparing to last year. So yes, top 5 for sure we can fight, and obviously we are waiting to jump on the podium and maybe some win, because we can see that some factory team make some mistake. It's quite easy to make a mistake, so no, just be an outsider and don't make mistake.
Perfect, thank you so much and good luck.
And there we see the treble 7 as Gino Rea makes his way out onto the track, recognisable as well by the green armband. He's the green rider on that 4-rider team. And Gino Rea, of course, the rider that we hoped would come back. Already if it would, but he's out on the track once again. We'll keep an eye on his lap times and his progress as he carries on. The team currently sitting in 11th as they make their way back out onto the circuit. So Gino Rea out there right now, the treble 7, gets his way back out onto the circuit for another stint. And Rea looking quite comfortable in the first hour when he was out earlier on, just getting back up to pace. And we saw, of course, the number 99 we were talking there a few minutes ago with only talking about the traffic being a real contender, just keeping a cool head as well. And Gino Rea just bedding himself in on this outlap, just get the bike back up to pace as soon as possible. And I believe with the rotors on the tyres, he'll be on fairly bedded in tyres here right now, so he's got to just get that machine back up to pace as well. That could be a factor as well, of course, on the rotors with the 4 riders. The green riders coming towards more towards the end of the tyre life there as well.
Yes, the guys were saying, when I say that, I mean, back in our prep area, it was being discussed that he had agreed to take on the last stints of the tyres. I know someone from our team, our commentary team, had found that out in discussion with Gino or the team. Oh no, down. And just as we say that, Gino Rea has gone down.
Front
right
end
on
just
our
seemed
screen.
to watch out on him there.
Gino Rea down at the, and that was on a warm-up lap as well. So Gino Rea down at the final corner. He's straight back up again. I don't think that bike looks particularly damaged. It was at a fairly slow pace. Let's hope that he can get going straight away again. But an unusual incident. He's gone down on a warm-up lap. He's trying to fire the bike back up again. Chris, let's have a look at the replay.
Yeah, look at this again. He gets back out onto the circuit, looking very smooth. He just seemed, here he comes in towards the right-hander by the garage blur, and just seemed to come out of nowhere, that one. Front end just washing away slightly. And like you say, Chris, a relatively low-speed tumble. He was able to, you can see down in the pits, the Volchek Racing team looking a bit stunned with that one. They weren't, it just seemed to come out of nowhere, that one. He's, good thing is he's okay, hasn't seemed to have lost all that much time, so hopefully Gino should be able to just keep a cool head. They haven't lost that many positions. They've lost a bit of time. I think the last 3-minute 30 lap time in total, including the spill. So there he is. He's, well, as you can see, he's back out onto the circuit once again. So effectively, he's just got to, like you say, press Control Alt Delete here a little bit, get himself settled down back into the rhythm. Very experienced rider, of course, so that won't phase him all that much.
Well, you can see they'd asked for the garage to be cleared there. Anyone who essentially didn't need to be in the garage was asked to leave. So that is, I imagine they expect maybe Gino might bring the bike back in here, but given this is his first race back since that incident, for Gino's confidence, it's going to be. I'm sure that's something would have been his worst nightmare, just to have any form of incident. But Gino, he's a very experienced rider, like you said, and what he's done to pick himself back up and just get back out there has been astonishing already. And Gino has proven he can take on anything. He's looking down at the bike and just assessing the damage, basically, if there is any. And let's see, this is going to be interesting now to see if he dives back across right. No.
Still out.
Let's see if he gets through here. Comes through the double right. Absolutely no problem. So that tells us that the bike is okay to go on. Now, he lost 2 places in that. He was 18th. He's dropped to 20th. He's gained one of those back with riders coming in. So there was a bit of damage done there. He did lose, of course, fair bit of time with that happening, and Gino Rea and the Wojciech Racing team have lost a few places in that happening. We're watching the 777. For those of you maybe just tuning in, we have just seen an incident. Gino Rea dropping the bike going into the final 2 corners for the 777 Wojciech Racing team 77, but unharmed, both bike and rider. They continue on, and we're going to see many of those throughout this race,
that's nothing to get too alarmed about at this stage. I think as the night goes on, the temperatures drop. We may well see some of those slow-speed tumbles. Gino Rea losing, I would say, around, according to the lap charts, around a minute or so with that spill. As you can see, this is his first race back since the infamous 2022 Zuka 8 hours. And like you say, his resume speaks for itself, really. Very fast, very experienced rider, and already back on the pace. 1:43 last time round, so he's starting to get himself bedded back into it after that difficult opening lap. Here he is again. Super smooth rider, I have to say. Always makes it look so easy as well.
I mean, I'm going to put this out there too. Someone who's, you've ridden yourself. Is it, well, Gino, we can see him coming out the final corner. We'll come back to that in a bit. 2 hours and 45 minutes gone. We can see the pit lane, the famous Le Mans pit lane. Let's have a look at it once again. This is the incident we've just been referring to. Gino Rea dropping the front end into the final 2 corners. Slow speed fall there as he came into the final 2 corners means there's no damage to the bike. He seems okay. It's just more damage to confidence, I guess. But I'm going to put this to you, Chris. His first race back, as we saw, since that Suzuka 8 Hours crash. Is it almost a good thing he's got a small fall out the way early?
You almost wonder that. Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want to fall off. But
it's going to be on. It's going to be on your mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
After a big crash, he's back. At some point, you're going to have some form of an incident. Is it good he's got there out of the way early, and it can almost be under his mind?
It could almost be. If you have to have a spill, the first lap, get it out of the way. It's almost like John Krasinski with the leathers. He never used to be entirely happy with his leathers. I think it was Krasinski until he'd. Until he'd been off the bike and scuffed them a little bit. Almost that sort of mindset, I wonder. But, yeah, maybe just a bit of a reset in the head, maybe. Just get the confidence back. It's happened now. Even when he came off, he didn't seem to be too panicked. He was just keep a nice, cool head, which is always very important. It's, it's a 24-hour race at the end of the day. Any form, 2 wheels, 4 wheels, there will be incidents throughout the race, so when they do happen, it's just keeping his cool. Very experienced endurance rider. As we cut to the pits, and the Yamaha team are making their rider change. This will be Canepa going up, the start rider from earlier on, of course. Nicola Canepa back on the machine, currently sitting in 2nd position, so they'll lose a bit of time in the pits to the Yoshimura Cert Motul team, who continue to lead the way. There was the number 5, the FCC team. Yeah, with a bit of trouble there, and that's Marvin Fritz just taking a moment just to cool down after his riding stint. We'll have a look at Canepa's lap time when he comes back round again. What the outlap will be. Oh, it's right on cue. It's Fritz's birthday today, 31 today.
Well, let's see if he'll have something to celebrate. And he is able to celebrate properly tomorrow, as we have our reigning champions coming out of pit lane, our reigning FIM Endurance World Champions. But one thing they are still chasing is a win here at Le Mans, looking to get that first win around here for Yamaha since 2017. Second here last year, and the last time they did win here, Canepa was part of that team. So Niccolò Canepa, who is currently out on the bike for them, he knows how to win this race on a Yamaha. Can he go and do it again? Their wins here come in 91, 2005, 2009, 2017. Let's see if they can go and repeat that. They're few and far between so far. They'll look to put a 5th win on the board this year. This famous race has been run since 1978, and bigger and better every year. The start procedure always a glorious sight, and it gets even more glorious when the light falls as well. We see these bikes roaring round. Plenty of fans at the circuit throughout the weekend. The parade itself was a beautiful function to kick proceedings off as well.
That was a 2:48 on the outlap there for Niccolò Canepa, so there you can see 1:15 the gap as they crossed the line last time round, so that's fairly reasonable stop there for the Yamaha team, I would say. And Canepa again just getting himself back into the groove there. A little bit of a back end just popping out to say hello there. He had that, fortunately had that well under control. See number 12, that's the leaders into the pits now. Here we go.
So here we go then. Suzuki is in. The Yoshimura team, Chris. Let's see how they come out in comparison. The Yoshimura Motul team come in, and they are now making their way down the pit lane. Right, where do they now come out? Greg Black, I believe, has jumped on the bike for them as they roll down pit lane. And it's a long way down to get there, isn't it? Tom Gamer was saying that in commentary earlier. Just feels like it goes on forever.
Especially this part when you're right alongside the track as well.
Yes.
It must be so tough mentally.
Look at that, look, and you got to get all the way around. 55 minutes stint, so we can see them now coming down, just assessing things on the bike, making sure everything is comfortable. Now around Dunlop chicane. Fans in the grandstand watch on. Let's see how they come out in comparison under Dunlop Bridge. As one of the bikes just makes its way past us as we go down La Chapelle.
Caniper just over the line with a 1:37, so he's right back on it now, and we'll have a look at the lap time for Greg Black in a few moments when he makes his way around the Bugatti circuit, just getting himself back into the rhythm.
Just some traffic ahead of us, but should clear that coming down here. That's the number 14 that we have.
Mako Racing Team
ahead of us. Yes, Mako Racing, correct.
I always have to make sure I don't say Mako. It looks too... You have to drop the I. It's the old German motocross manufacturer, Mako Racing Team. So I'm always keeping a close eye on that one when I see that team going round. So 7th last year for the Yoshimura Motor machine, the Suzuki. And Greg Black is out onto the circuit, the lead rider who started the stint just under 3 hours ago in some real dicing racing at the front early on, of course, in those opening stages with Nicola Caniper. It's just settled down a bit now, and Greg Black, he's actually born in Derby, no less.
Oh, wow.
Bit of a francophile, you might say. Last year's EWC runner-up and the Boldor winner. Let's have a look as he goes over the line just to see what they did. So that's a 2:46.9 for Black last time round. So they've just gained a couple of seconds on the Yamaha team at this stage.
That was a very good pit stop then, and a good outlap, and the gap is 12.2 seconds. So fairly stable between the leaders. So it's over to Caniper now, see if he can do anything about this gap.
Yeah, we do wonder at this stage, what's Caniper going to do? Of course, only 3 hours into this race, but is this going to be a case where he tries to, I wonder, just maybe increase the pace slightly, just maybe bring that gap down on the track? So they don't want to lose too much to the leaders at this stage. The Yoshimura team, Cert Motor, looking good. And Greg Black just closing up on the 119, the Team Slider Endurance, the French team. As you can see now, the lights beginning to drop. You can see the different headlights, of course, that denote the different classifications.
Someone asked me earlier how Joe Ackroyd is doing. He's actually out on the bike now on the number 97, by the way. He's down in 24th for the ADSS team. So he is currently out there on the 97, 24th. Okay, here is the Kawasaki guys coming in. They're just doing a rider spot. Whoa, Yoshimura down. Yoshimura are down at the final corner. That our leading bike is down. Race leaders have gone. There is the Suzuki, and that is Greg Black trying to pick the bike back up. Big drama out on circuit. Lead bike is facing the wrong way. Oh dear, Greg Black had just come back out of the pit lane, and he has dropped the bike, had a lead of over 12 seconds over Niccolo Caniper, and the Yoshimura bike, the 10-time winners of this event, are down. Chris Sora.
Let's have a look at this one. Just another one that just seemed to come out of nowhere.
High side.
Stepping out, and he was lucky to, I want to say, get away with that, but that could have been a whole lot worse. That really could have. Let's have to see how serious that one is. We speak to Dan Linford in a few moments down in the pit area. We'll go down to Dan Linford.
So Dan, you just make your first team, but now Greg just crashed. Can you describe your first team that we spoke about before the start?
Yeah, the first stint was okay for me, actually. I was just trying to settle in a rhythm. We have good signals with the pit board, so this was very helpful. And yeah, navigate the traffic, try to be calm with traffic, but try to also not lose too much time. And in general, I just want to settle into my rhythm. So after maybe 6 to 10 laps, I find this rhythm and just continue with this pace. So yeah, the feeling was good. No big issues with the feeling of the bike. But yeah, I just see now a small crash with Greg. So let's understand what happens and go from here.
Well, just after the crash, I wish you good luck for the rest, and there is nothing on the bike.
Well, we're hearing from Dan Linford there. That was supposed to be, I guess, an interview about how it was as a race leader. Instead, it's now, what are we going to do about this problem? Dan Linford, they're part of the Yoshimura team, and they are now scrambling to get this bike fixed. Big drama here at Le Mans. Race leaders down as we approach 3 hours into the race. Footage of the Yoshimura garage. Are once race leaders, now in the garage as the rest of the field circulates and completes laps there. Greg Black, who had Chris Sora, just gone out onto the circuit to put more laps on the board and hopefully extend the 12-second gap he once had over Nicola Canepa. Now sits at the back of the garage, hoping he can get back out there and go and put more laps on the board and try and get this Yoshimura team back up the order. He's shaking his head. For those of you who didn't see it, it was a high side coming up to the final 2 corners. A real strange incident, and now they're working on that Suzuki bike to try and get it back up. Of course, these guys, reigning vice champions in this championship, 10-time winners of this event, they know what they are doing, but I think he's still trying to come to terms with what has just happened here.
Oh no, and it's that's just coming out the S de Garage Bleu. It's a fairly anonymous part of the track, you'd almost think, but that's where Gino Ria had his little tumble earlier on. It seems to have claimed Black here as well, so, and this is just shows how brutal 24-hour racing can be. The race was just settling down quite nicely for this team. Black was out there just putting some good lap times in, had a good strong stop, and then barely, you could hardly call it a mistake, the back end just stepping out on him slightly, unable to catch it, and you can just see in the rider's eye, just got to keep his focus now. And it's the trouble with 24-hour racing is if you make a mistake like that, you just feel like the world's on your shoulders, because all the team effort, it's all come down to your mistake, even though it is just racing. And he's just got to try and keep his composure as the mechanics very quickly set to work on that machine. The bike has been pulled into the garage, of course, as they give it a bit of a once-over. Luckily, I think we saw the FCC Honda machine tumbling down the track earlier on, but that didn't look like too much of a severe incident. And we'll have a look at Black's incident.
I was making the interview from Dan Linford, and Greg just entered in the pit box, and from what I understand is that he had a traction control issue. When he opened the throttle, the grip from the rear tire went down, and that's why he crashed. At the first view, the bike hasn't a lot of damage. That's why the Suzuki Yoshimura said, I'm repairing the bike quite quickly, and I think in a few moments they will come back in the race.
That's interesting, isn't it, Chris? Yeah. Traction control. That was a very strange accident.
Does that make more sense to you now?
It does now, yeah, because it just all seemed very strange to me. It just seemed to come out of nowhere. It's not the sort of mistake you would expect a rider of that caliber to make, really. So, yeah, the way it went down very promptly as well. It just went before he even had the chance to correct it. So that would...
Because it seemed to me as he was out the corner already.
Yeah, that didn't seem like your classic high side of that one. It almost like ejected him off the machine. Very strange incident for the number 12, the former race leader, and as you can see, dropping down to 9th. They must have been in the pits now for must be at least 4 minutes.
His body language suggests, to me, what on earth just happened. Here's their story of the race so far. Yoshimura jump on at the start of the race, blistering start. They take off into the race lead as they chase down Suzuki's 15th win of this event. They take the lead of the race and they catch the traffic, get out of the way, they say, and as they do that, Yamaha say thank you very much, and through they go as we had this toe-to-toe battle between the two leaders. It was a real great tussle out front between Yamaha and Yoshimura, who provided all the entertainment within the first hour, going shoulder to shoulder. Then this high side coming up to the final corner there, being thrown off the front of the bike was Greg Black. Here it is from on board there, the supposed traction issue that is being reported down in the pit lane, and Greg Black, once he'd got the bike back up, which was facing the wrong way, and he eventually got it back up to the pit lane, and there is Greg reporting it as a traction control issue. Now it is back out onto the circuit. 3 hours into this race, we are in of the 24 we have in total, and Yoshimura are out there once again, and that leaves them 12th place as they rejoin this race, and 4 laps down.
Yeah, so that's
on the #1 Yamaha, who they once led by 12 seconds, Chris Sora.
Yeah, it just goes to show in a 24-hour race. We're looking at the, if you look at the, just said the 99 and 37, the KM99 and the 37 BMW machine, just goes to show the strong, steady race those two can have. They've managed to stay out of trouble so far. They're about a minute or so down on the leader, 1:16. The second place, Florian Marino, the number 99 KM99 machine. Those two teams, second and third. This is just the way the race can come back towards you. It's there's a saying sometimes that you don't win these races, they almost find you.
Yeah.
And this is the perfect example here. The number 12, of course, running very well. The Yoshimura Motor machine with Black back on the machine now. 4 laps down, though, in the blink of an eye.
Oh my word.
Curve there.
And I think, is that the adrenaline just needing to be calmed down slightly there for Greg Black?
Just got to get back into the rhythm now.
Yes. Coming round the first corner, just needs to calm down a little bit here. Greg Black, who's coming through the Dunlop chicane. Let's get down to the pit lane now, and here's some more.
Yohei, we just saw that Greg had a small crash. We didn't really understand what happened. Can you explain what happened to the crash? So Yohei, we just saw that Greg had a small crash. Can you explain what happened?
Yeah, in the pit box, we missed the fuel reset, and on the pit road, Greg tried to reset, but actually he made a wrong button, so traction control didn't work well, so he got the high side.
Okay, do you think now the problem is fixed and you can continue the race in the good condition?
Yeah. All 3 riders showed great performance, so we will catch up soon.
Okay, good luck for the rest.
Thank you.
So just hearing from team manager down there at Yoshimura, and Chris, I guess that answers our question. They've made, of course, this is a 24-hour race for everyone tuning in. They do have to make certain adjustments throughout, and they've made certain adjustments there, and I guess it's had some teething issues.
Yeah, it's just getting it back onto the circuit on that first lap out, just bedding the machine in, and like I say, traction control issues there, the settings, and spits him off the machine. However, 3 hours into the race, I think he's lost 4 laps. So you'd say, realistically, you're looking about 8 minutes or so. So in real terms, about 8 minutes off the leader. So I think they're going to keep a cool head here because they're still very much in this race.
Well, still a long way to go in this race. 3 hours and 4 minutes into it, and we watch Yoshimura trying to catch up to the rest of the field.